One of the biggest films of the 80s, which says a lot since the decade held some of cinema's most classic blockbusters, was Steven Spielberg's E.T. the Extra Terrestrial. It was in theaters for over a year, was nominated for 9 Oscars on top of other awards, became a merchandising machine, held the highest international box office record in its original run until Steven Spielberg beat his own record with Jurassic Park a few years later, and was added to the United States National Film Registry of the Library of Congress, who deemed it culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. Given the massive success of E.T., the demand for a sequel was not far behind. Spielberg had an aversion to sequels before, but he agreed to work on one for E.T. with his original co-screenwriter, Melissa Mathison. They came up with a treatment that was called E.T. 2: Nocturnal Fears, which is not a great title. Despite the treatment being given to Universal Studios, Spielberg backtracked and decided he no longer wanted to go forward with it. You can read the treatment online, and after reading it, it is good that the sequel was never made. I'll give a quick summary of it for you to judge it yourself. E.T. species have 2 factions, with one side being evil carnivorous sharp-teeth albinos who have been warring with E.T. side for decades. They receive the signal that E.T., called by his alien name Zrek in the treatment, phoned home within the first movie, which is now placed in Elliot's room. The evil aliens come to Earth, where they mutilate cattle and torture Elliot.
What do you mean?
Yeah, they literally torture him to the point of him blacking out, so they can find out where E.T. is. While Elliot gets interrogated, the rest of the kids from the first film are kept hostage in light cages. E.T. hears Elliot's cries for help from wherever he is in space and saves the kids, bringing them home before exiling the evil aliens and leaving Earth again. Some side stuff about the family is that the kids miss E.T. a lot before they learn of the evil aliens' existence. Meanwhile, their mom Mary is dating the scientist from the original, Dr. Keyes, since she is now officially divorced from the kid's dad, and he lives in New Mexico permanently now. Dr. Keyes has moved away from extraterrestrials and now works in medicine after the experience with E.T. changed him. Steven Spielberg made the call to not pursue E.T. 2, which I think after hearing what it would have been like, we can all agree that it was for the best. I mean, I don't think it would have been a bad movie, especially if Spielberg agreed to direct it. I just think it would have had a more serious, almost science fiction thriller-like tone that is such a far cry from E.T. that it would have ruined the feelings of wonder that the film had. This was actually a big reason of why he decided to not further develop the project. Universal fortunately agreed and didn't push the matter, which is pretty surprising given the massive amount of money E.T. made for the studio in box office numbers and products. Let's all just be relieved that E.T. isn't owned by Disney, because if it was, there would have been about 3 sequels, a spin-off prequel series about Keyes, and a reboot movie. Anyways, with the burying of E.T. 2: Nocturnal Fears, the idea of any sequel to E.T. was put to rest, in film at least. In 1985, E.T. The Book of the Green Planet by William Kotzwinkle was published after being given the okay by Steven Spielberg. It followed the novelization of the first movie, also written by Kotzwinkle. They don't really do novelization of movies anymore. It was pretty common a long time ago, especially for movies that were kid-friendly. They would basically just put the events of a movie into book form and then just include some stills with sometimes pictures of a deleted scene. Book of the Green Planet has some small bits about what Elliot and his family are up to, but it's mostly just a book of lore about E.T., his planet, the different planet species, and their form of space travel. In the book, E.T. travels back home through space, through time warps, so 4 years have passed on Earth, but his adventures there are like yesterday to E.T. We learn that E.T. is a 1,000-year-old scientist who used to be a farmer. His age makes him on the older end of adolescence. Think like an 18 or 19-year-old. When he gets back to his planet, he expects a hero's welcome for his time on Earth, but instead gets demoted for his earthly excursion, and he becomes a farmer again. He goes back to live in his childhood home with his pet, Flopglopples. After his return to his planet turns out to be a major bummer, E.T. plots to come back to Earth. He spent the whole movie trying to come back home, and now he wants to go back. Back on Earth, Elliot is very into girls now, specifically one named Julie. Michael wants to make the football team. Gertie is still Gertie.
I don't like his feet. They're only feet, you little twerp.
And Mary wants a relationship, which I don't understand why she wasn't coupled with Keys, like in the treatment for ET2, but for whatever reason, that's not the direction they went for this one. We learn E.T. has astral projection powers that lets him see what's going on with Elliot and his family, but he struggles in communicating with him anymore because Elliot is now a teenager, and humans are harder to communicate with as they age because they lose their innocence. E.T. is still able to help through his projection powers, though, giving Elliot the confidence he needs to talk to Julie, and he makes Michael look more powerful on the field to show football coaches to get him on the team. E.T. is actually very hung up on Elliot in general in the book, to the point that he thinks that Elliot is the ruler of Earth, which is kind of sad considering that Elliot really doesn't seem to think about E.T. all that much 4 years later. Call me crazy, but if I bonded with an alien to the point of almost dying, I would be thinking about said alien on a daily basis, whether 4 years or a decade had passed. But maybe that's just me. E.T. makes Bear to get an alien drunk to help him steal a spaceship so he can go back to Earth. Hold on. E.T. was on Earth for 2 seconds, and he already acts like the kids in that 70s show.
Woohoo! Beer!
The book concludes with an ending open to interpretation, with readers not knowing if E.T. actually did make it back to Earth to be reunited with Elliot. However, E.T. is successful in leaving his planet thanks to him and his fellow outsider friends building their own spaceship out of plants. That's the main plot of the book, but a large chunk of it is, like I said, about the lore of the planet and E.T. species. There's some backstory about E.T. species called Azogeans. Is it Azogeans or Azagaians?
I'm not quite sure how to say this. Kim Basinger? Basinger? Basinger?
Anyways, like they might be genderless, and they are an advanced species that after many wars are peaceful now and have dedicated themselves to science. Speaking of science, the aliens have used it to make plant life fit the needs of the community. Like one plant can become a house and others can play music. Some plants have even been given sentience. We also learn the reason why E.T.'s finger glows. Any wisdom and talent they have about plants gives them the glowing finger, and its powers to grow, heal, and numb plants so they don't feel any harvesting. To have all 10 digits capable of glowing is a rare power that few have, with one being their supreme scientist, their term for it, not mine, named Botanicus, who is E.T.'s teacher and mentor. They believe in being of service to the planet, with one of their methods being going from galaxy to galaxy to bring different plant life back to their planet, called Proto-Isogi, also known as the Green Planet, and find ways to add them to their own planet and make the plants better. There are different species besides E.T. on the planet, like one called the Dark Lords, that are mushroom beings, as well as some robots. E.T. apparently learned some tubular 80s Earth slang, which one of the robots tends to take literally. And we learn that E.T. thinks basketballs are living organisms that can only move through someone bouncing them. Side note, E.T. also thinks Michael's nickname is Penis Breath.
There's nothing like that, penis breath!
Elliot!
All in all, from what I've read about the book, it seems like it does a good job of providing more information about E.T.'s kind and where he's from, as well as continuing the realistic personality aspects of the kids. But it also makes the book kind of sad and a bit of a bummer. Luckily, the second canon sequel for E.T. is a lot more upbeat, bringing me to... When Universal Studios Orlando was being built, Steven Spielberg was brought on as creative consultant to the park, having been a producer or director on some of the studio's most successful and profitable movies. Already planning to include an E.T. ride in the park, Spielberg worked closely with Universal creative executive, former Disney Imagineer, and his old college roommate, Peter Alexander, to come up with the attraction concept based on the film. They decided to include a bike chase like the climactic scene of the movie, that then transforms into the Green Planet, taking inspiration from the book. Incorporating many of the elements of E.T. Book of the Green Planet, the ride's second half includes Botanicus, the mushroom beings who are now good in the ride,
Welcome home,
the sentient plants, the Green Planet's emphasis on all things plant life, and the acid trip-esque visuals that came from the illustrations and the children's version of the book. In addition to the book's effect on the look of the green planet, Alexander's childhood exploring California coral reefs provided inspiration as well. With one inspiration being the film and the other being the sequel book, the ride is split into two parts, the first half being on Earth and the second being on E.T.'s planet. An opening day attraction, the experience starts with a pre-show featuring Steven Spielberg and E.T. telling riders that Botanicus needs E.T. to come back from Earth to save the green planet and everyone on it from dying through his magical healing touch.
Eden.
Ah, E.T.
Trouble.
That's right, E.T.
We're introduced to E.T.'s friends on the green planet, Tikli Mutmut, Orbidon, a mushroom being like from the book, and Magdal, which are all original characters to the ride. We go through the queue that looks just like the forest we see E.T. get stranded in at the beginning of the movie. Botanicus comes out every so often to beg the guests to help E.T. get back to the green planet to save them.
Earth people, our planet is dying. Find the one you call E.T. Bring him home to the green planet. All the creatures of the green planet are in grave danger.
Talk about a guilt trip, jeez. There's some Easter eggs to the movie in this part too that are fun to recognize, like E.T.'s communicator. Next, we get into the ride portion of the attraction, where riders board their own bikes and try to evade the cops and government agents that want E.T. Like the movie, the bikes with E.T. in the basket fly off, except this time, the flying bikes travel through space and into the dying green planet. E.T. provides his healing touch to the planet and his friends. Having their planet saved, E.T.'s friends are grateful and a bunch of baby E.T. celebrate. Considering that E.T. Adventure was made in direct collaboration with the creator of the original movie, E.T. Adventure is likely the more canon option between the ride and the book, but both are technically considered canon, and both have gotten at least some level of approval from Steven Spielberg. I personally like the sequel being the ride story, because the book is a bit on the depressing side, and the green planet isn't as harsh or isolating for E.T. as it is in the book. So, those are the canon E.T. sequels. Based on what Steven Spielberg and cast members have said over the years, no one really wants an E.T. sequel because they want to preserve the lightning in the bottle that was the movie. With the exception of the Sky Christmas ad from 2019, if it counts, these sequels are probably the only ones E.T. will ever have, which is honestly fine by me. It would be extremely hard to meet the quality of E.T., especially now that so much time has passed since it came out. One can only hope that future creatives care as much about preserving the integrity of E.T. as Steven Spielberg and the amazing people that were part of making the movie. If you've made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in seeing more videos from me, please like and subscribe.